welcome back to another video, and today, oh shit, I haven't got my mic on, hang on a minute. There we go, that's a bit better. So yeah, welcome back to part 3 of the VESPA small frame engine build, and I've got a bit of an update. So as you can see, some of you may not know this unless you follow my Facebook, so if you don't, go and follow my Facebook, I'll pop it right up there for you. But basically, this was the crank I was going to go for, the BGM crank. However, I found that the webs were too large, so it actually didn't fit in this side of the engine case. So as we can see here, the webs are too wide to fit in the flywheel side. So there was of course an option to get this part milled out for the crank to fit. However, milling this out on a standard casing would reduce the tolerances in here. And I've had a few people contact me and say that they've had it hole through there due to there being obviously less material, less strength. So I thought, well, I didn't want to do that, so what do I do? So as we can see here, I've got a new crank, which made a bit of a dent in the budget, and obviously I was not expecting to pay that sort of money, but I thought rather than risking this, milling this out, blowing the engine case up and ruining everything, which will cost a lot more, I thought I'd invest in a new crank that fits. This is the EGIG SR5197. So the same stroke and the same conrod length. However, the web on this side is 87mm, the same as this one, which fit perfectly inside the engine casing. However, the flywheel side web is 83mm. So as I'll show you right now. So yeah, as we can see, it fits perfectly, no problem, without any modifications to the engine casing. So the solution was this crank. However, this crank is a 20mm taper, whereas this one, being an ETS crank, is 24mm taper. So I thought, for fuck's sake, it doesn't fit in here. So this is the inside bearing ring for this bearing, and as I'll insert some clips now, I visited David Panye from On Small Wheels. He's about 10 minutes away from me, so again, thank you so much, David, and thank you for letting me film. We had this conversion ring, of which we put the original one on, for it to basically be a 24mm taper. So yeah, I'll insert some clips now of that happening. Spot on. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, as you just saw, that was what we did to the crank. However, another problem, the bearings and seals in the engine casing, compatible with this, not compatible with that. Because as we can see, the size difference is, well, there. So what we had to do is I had to get a new clutch side bearing, plus a seal, plus I needed a new seal for this side. So again, all provided and sorted out by David Panye, so thank you so much for that. So basically, the crank now fits without modification, so we can finally continue and get this engine built. But quickly, before we proceed, I've got a special announcement to make. So for 2026, I'm officially sponsored by Rockoil. What is Rockoil, you may be asking?
Rockoil is one of the UK's leading producers of lubricants, coolants and greases,
of which a lot of us will be using in our scooters already. So yeah, I'm very proud to be sponsored by Rockoil for 2026 and testing out their latest and greatest products, such as Rockoil's high performance dirt blaster, which is an essential as we know that our scooters do get very dirty. Next up, we've got Synthesis 2 Racing, which is a high performance, fully synthetic 2-stroke racing oil, of which I know a lot of us will use, and personally I've been using myself for a while now. Next up, we've got XRP gearbox oil. This is an advanced synthetic formula. This is to provide lubricant to wet clutches, decreases friction and improves smoothness. Next up, and this is a very important one, Carb Clean. Carb Clean removes all greases and oils from your dirty carburetors, which we all know can get dirty quite quickly and quite frequently. So that one is going to be a massive help to use throughout 2026. And next up, we've got Brake Clean. This is designed for quick and speedy removal of dirt and dust from brake systems and clutch systems. These are the products that Rockwell have kindly provided me to test and try out for 2026. So I just want to say thank you so much, Rockwell, for sponsoring me. I'm looking forward to working with you guys and testing out your product. And if you haven't already, checked out the Rockwell website if you want to get some of your own. I'll put the link down in the description. They have a great website, including information and all the necessary stuff you need to help you find out exactly what you need for your vehicle. Anyway, back to the video. Right, so now we know the crank fits, let's put it in. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the case halves together, put the kickstart in as well, and just check that everything's okay and sounding good when I kick it over, and that there's no clicking or rubbing or anything that there shouldn't be. So yeah, with putting the case halves on, can be a little bit fiddly, but if you just line everything up, shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, small frame cases can be a little bit annoying, so just keep turning the clutch basket and the crank, and everything should click together. Ah, there we go, perfect. Right, that's the two case halves together. Kickstart going on now, and then we're gonna give it a few little kicks and see if it's all good. So all seems to be fine with the kickstart. There's no unusual noises. What we're going to do, we're going to take the case half back off and sort the gasket out. Right, so I've got a brand new gasket set, as you can see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some of this gasket sealant around this area here, which of course goes around that area there, basically the crank, because if it's going to leak anywhere, apparently on small frames, these are the most likely place it's going to leak. Thanks George from Team George for telling me about that information. Right, now let's put these case halves together again. Oh, there we go. So I'm glad I checked that. Okay. Right, next up, we've got the case bolts and the case nut washers. So we're going to put all of these in, and I believe torque them up to about 14 to 15 Newton meters. So I've got my torque wrench set to 15 Newton meters. Okay, so we have all the engine bolts put in minus one, this one here. The reason for that, I've got an EVOC cable holder. Well, I need to make some minor adjustments to it now. So that'll basically sit in one of the engine bolts and this one here, like this, and it'll hang down. I'm not going to do that one for now because I'm sorting it out, but in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort the second part of the primary, which obviously goes on the crank, and obviously the woodruff key as well. However, with this EGIG crank, there's a slightly different method to it. So the conventional method, of course, is putting the woodruff key in, a tiny tab washer, which basically makes sure the woodruff key stays in place, this nut, which you will then, once on, bend this over almost to lock it into place. However, with the EGIG one, what they've done, rather than have it like a normal nut, they made it almost a built-in tab washer. So when this gets put on, like so, it will basically act as the tab washer
locking the woodruff key in place. So I've got the woodruff key, that should slot in. Can the watch shut up, please? So next I'm just going to give it a tap down with this and a hammer to make sure it's secured in place. Okay, so next up we're going to put this in. Should be pretty straightforward if you line it all up. But then we've got this nut as well, which goes on top. Another thing I'm going to do as well is apply some lock thread to there, because obviously you haven't got the security of the tab washer to bend over, so yeah. Okay, so next up I've got the woodruff key, the input shaft, which should just slide in. And then we're going to put the BFA FRT clutch on. Again, lining it all up. There we go, that looks pretty good. So yeah, let me just go and get the hardware. Yep, so I've installed the woodruff key. A bit of advice I'd say is put a cloth or something here just in case you drop it, because you don't want it falling in the engine. Luckily it's magnetic, so if you've got a magnet you can probably get it back. But yeah, you don't really want to lose that inside the engine. But yeah, obviously I'm going to put this on now. I've just taken it off just to double check, just to make sure everything's in place. And rather than using the tab, I'm going to use the wavy washer supplied by DRT, and obviously their nut as well. So I'll get back to you once it's all on. Right, so my socket set was a bit dirty, so I just used a bit of rock oil brake clean to blast it all out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten these up a certain amount, and then I'm going to get the tool out and then torque them up pretty much. So the next stage is to tighten up the crank nut and the clutch nut. So what I have here is a tool to do so. If you haven't got one of these, what you can do is use a penny method. So you basically get pliers, whatever, get like a 1 or 2p soft metal, and basically what you can do is you can ram it in the gears, and then when you tighten it, the penny will deform slightly, but it will protect the gears, and it means that you can tighten these up. However, I've got this tool, which I'm just going to insert now and show you what it looks like. Right, so what you need to do, you just need to line up all of the bits so they're all aligned. So, let's turn this a little bit. There you go. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. Just like that pretty much, so that you can tighten it all up and it will all be held in place. So there we go. Okay, so I've got this BGM instruction manual thing, and it says for the primary drive fixing nut 50 to 55, for the clutch center nut 40 to 45. Check with whatever clutch provider you're using. I know EGIG say 70 for their clutch center nut, so now I don't know what to do. What I'm going to do, because I'm running a BFA FRT clutch and a DRT input shaft, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask AD, because he provided me the clutch, so I'm sure he'll know. I'm going to ask Eric from EGIG, see what Newton meter that should be. But yeah, of course, every brand will have a different requirement for the torque, so yeah, make sure to check that when you do it. Right, so with the DRT input shafts require about 40 to 45 Newton meters, but with some high performance builds being about 60 Newton meters. This watch, okay, no, it is 80, don't worry. I'll let you off. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do this one. Again, Eric's not quite got back to me yet, but I'll try and do a bit of researching to see what it is, but I'd assume maybe a little bit less than that, maybe similar. Okay, so we're back here the next day, and we have done all the torquing up. So we did this DRT input shaft at about 45 Newton meters. Spoke to Eric, he said 85. We've got this guy here today. Hopefully going to help out with a bit of filming and watching as well. But yeah, that is on and I'm happy with that. So the next thing is, I guess, to install the clutch and all the springs, and we're also going to soak the plates as well that we've got at the back here. Right, so one of the things I'm going to do as well, obviously whilst these are soaking in oil, I'm going to put the oil plugs in, because of course once we put these inside of the engine there's going to be oil leaking, so we don't want that. So yeah, I'm going to put the oil plugs in. I've got some new seals, as you can see, so yeah, when those are in there shouldn't be any spillages.
loud as shit, mate. Why is everything breaking right now? Nice.